Well, hello, Dr. Janosik and myself, Dr. Smith, back again. And if you see our two faces together, you know that there is a new course coming up. This is the third of 10 courses that we teach in the MAPI program, Master of Art in Apologetics and Polemics to Islam. And we've been doing this now for over 2 years. In fact, we've done all of them. We're now starting our second tranche, going through all of the 10 courses. And we want to introduce this one, 503, which is the one on Muhammad himself. Muhammad is absolutely important to Islam. Without Muhammad, there is no Islam. Without Muhammad, there is no Quran. And so you can see why it's important that we assess him as Christians. And that's why this course is for Christians. It's for those who are interested in engaging with Muslims about their prophet, about the man that really started the religion that they have to go to, that's part of the Shahada. So he's absolutely important. It's that we understand him and that we also critique him from a Christian standpoint. That's what this course is about. It's starting in just a few weeks. It's starting on October the 24th of this month. So you need to register if you want to be a part of this course. I've got right there at the bottom of the screen, you can see it. I've got the URL. It's basically, you just need to email info, and I've got it right here, info@ves.edu. That's VES is the old name for Veritas International University. It is the university that both Dan and I work out of. We've been doing these courses since 2020. Number 3. Now, what we're going to do, Dan, so good to have you here. Thanks for coming on board. We've done this course once before, haven't we? So this is the second time that we're looking at it again, and we're going to introduce new material as we always do. Okay, Daniel, now this is not a course that you go to physically, is it, Daniel? Explain what we do. What is that we actually do for these courses here at MAPI?
Okay, these are Zoom courses. So Jay will send out each week a reminder and the course link, and it'll also be on the course site for those regular students, MA students, and audit students. So it's always there available. But we use the same one for each week. So you will click into that Zoom session. We will then host it, and that's where we'll be putting, we'll do the presentations and the discussions all on Zoom. So it's a lively time, and it works well around the world. And we have people joining us from around the world, and that's exciting to hear what they have experienced in their own part of the world.
Yeah, we purposely do this, don't we, Daniel? Because rather than bring students here to the United States, which is difficult, you have to get visa, you have to get hotel, you have to get air flights, and all the other board and room that you have to take care of. That's very expensive. Rather than having students come to us, we go to you. In fact, if you notice, Daniel is in his office. He's a few hundred miles from me. Neither of us are in California. I'm in Pennsylvania. And so this is where you will see some of the times I'll be traveling. So the nice thing about Zoom, as long as you have a laptop and as long as you have a camera, you're ready to go, and we are ready to go. So we come to you. That's why you don't have to leave the comfort of your own home or your own office or wherever you do your own work. And that's why it's so good that we can engage you in your own locality. And that's why it's amazing. We have students, over 160 students from about 22 different nations now. The great thing about that is you're going to be meeting students who are in a different country, in a different time zone, in a different culture. They will be taking what we're introducing, and in the discussions, we find out how it works in Timbuktu, or we find out how it works in Zimbabwe, or we find out how it works in Indonesia or in the Middle East. And you will find that this material works differently depending on the culture you're in, because Islam is not monolithic. And there are different categories that you have to work with depending on what Muslim's standing in front of you. And that's why it's so good that we can do this on Zoom, so that we can do it in real time and in real place. That's the beauty of using Zoom webinar. But let's go through, if you don't mind, Dan, let's go through each one of the 8 subjects, because we're going to be doing 8 lectures. starting from October the 24th, going to December the 12th. That's for the lectures. That's for the lectures. If you're taking it as a master's student or a doctoral student, you have 15 weeks to finish your course. So that will start from October the 24th all the way till next year, till January the 28th. But let's go through this, Daniel. If you don't mind, go ahead and let's unpack each of the lectures one by one. And I'll start off because I'll be doing the first lecture on October the 24th. You'll be there as well to engage and to jump in. One of the things about Daniel and I, we are so different, and we come from two completely different standpoints. Daniel is much more the intellect. He's much more the academic. I'm much more the man on the street, engaging with Muslims face to face. So we bring our two giftings together whenever we teach, and also whenever we introduce these kind of material. So let's start with the first one. That will be on October the 24th, looking at and introducing Muhammad, looking and introducing this book here. This is the standard work. We're going to show you what it is that Muslims, why is it that they honor him so high? What is it about Muhammad that they like? What is it that they go with Muhammad? That will be the first one. Obviously, because of the fact it is the first lecture, we'll also introduce all the students. We do this. This is a tradition we have at MAPI, so that every student can not only know each other, get to engage with each other, but also be able to discuss and go back and forth with each other. That will be the first week. Then October the 31st, over to you, Daniel. What are you going to do on that date?
Well, on that date, I'm going to be dealing with the classical account of Muhammad's life. I'm going to look at the 10 areas that have been put forth concerning Muhammad, all the material that has been developed over the centuries, but we're going to do it in a very systematic way, and you're going to see pretty much what the earliest biographies have tried to put together on the life of Muhammad, and we're also going to look at the hadith and other writings that really took place later, but they try to give a picture of Muhammad, and this will be a full picture that you will not see in many other places in one lecture.
Good. And then the following week, this will be November the 7th. Notice these are always on Mondays. They always happen on Mondays at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, United States. So wherever you are in the world, you're going to have to set your clock to that. It is the same thing we do with all our courses, always Monday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And we usually lecture for 2 hours. Then many times we open it up to Q&A, which can go for another hour. I mean, it depends on the subject, it depends on the interest, and it depends on you, the students. So November 7th, what will you be doing? That will be lecture number 3.
Well, I'll be going back to Muhammad and the people of the book, and this will be more of a critical review of the historical perspective or the historical writings on Muhammad, and we'll use a book called Muhammad and the People of the Book as our guideline. But I will also throw in there a critique by the earliest apologist to Islam, and that's John of Damascus. I did John as my doctoral dissertation focus, and the reason I did that was that he wrote about Muhammad from the very beginning, and it is very, very important that we understand what this eyewitness to these early beginnings really said about Muhammad. And so that's what we'll do on the third lecture, November 7th, Muhammad and the People of the Book.
All right. And then the next week, November the 14th, number 4, what will you do for that lecture?
Right. And I will also take that one. Here we're going to look at a Christian assessment of Muhammad, very important assessment. We'll look at the biblical qualifications of a prophet and see how Muhammad fits into that, because the Muslims always want to say that he is the supreme and the last prophet, and we'll have to determine that according to the Old Testament characteristics, qualifications. And then we'll ask the question, was Muhammad a prophet for the Arabs or the Jews or the Christians? This gets interesting because we're going to use some cutting edge material that deals with this question in detail. And then finally, we're going to assess whether Muhammad was really the seal of the prophets compared to other prophets. So it's kind of a biblical overview, a historical overview, a good critical review of Muhammad as a prophet. And Jay, you've got the next one, right?
That's correct. That's on November the 21st. That would be the fifth lecture, where I'm going to look at just how relevant this guy is for today, or for any day, or for anyone, or for anywhere. This is the relevancy. How relevant is it? We hear from Muslims all the time, he is the greatest paradigm. He is the greatest model for all of mankind. Is he really? We're going to ask whether or not he was relevant as a universal prophet. Where did this universality come from? Or was he only good for the Arabs at his time or in any time? We're going to ask whether or not he was relevant for women, or whether or not he elevated himself, whether or not this man, Muhammad, whether or not he was a sinful prophet. And also, we're going to look at the whole problem of embarrassment versus evidence, this whole debate that we have come across that many of us are engaged in. So that will be on the fifth week, the November the 21st. The sixth week, I'm going to come back and no, this is you again. Now it's back to you again. What happened on the sixth week, November the 28th?
Well, this is one of the fun ones because this will be very much an apologetic type of discussion and lecture. We'll be looking for Muhammad in the Bible. And I'm going to look at the Old Testament. Well, Muslims say that the Old Testament and the New Testament give all of this material and a prophecy about Muhammad coming and being the seal of the prophet. So they really put this forth in their arguments, and we need to know how to answer that. So we're going to look at the Old Testament, Deuteronomy, Song of Solomon, and Psalms, and Isaiah, and see what it actually says about this so-called prophet, or what they say about it, and critique that. And we're also going to look at the New Testament, where they say, well, Jesus even prophesied that Muhammad would come. And we'll take a good look at that, because you need to know how to answer these questions. Very important questions, and a lot of fun going through this material.
And Daniel, isn't this really a whole industry has been created in Islam because of two small verses in the Quran itself that really support this? Chapter 7, verse 157, and also chapter 61, verse 6. If the Quran stipulates that Muhammad can be found in our Bible, they've got to find him. And it's been fun watching and sitting back and just looking at this desperation by Muslims as they're trying to rigorously unpack the Bible, which they hate to begin with, and try to find Muhammad anywhere, and they just can't. But you're going to go through and show all the different claims they make, because there are many claims they make about Muhammad in the Bible, and you're going to shut down every one of them. That's an exciting lecture. I remember the last time it was laughable, some of the stuff you came up with. So that would be the lecture number 6, week number 6. Week number 7, then I come back again, and this will be December the 5th. And I'm going to be looking at modern controversies surrounding Muhammad himself. There are some modern controversies that we need to know about, that we need to really engage with and unpack. The aniconism in Islam, we're going to start with. We're going to look at the Gillian Poston Muhammad cartoons. We're going to look at the Innocence of Muslim movie that came out, the Charlie Hebdo controversy. We're going to look at other controversies that have come subsequent to them, much more recently. And then we're going to ask the question, why is it with all these controversies, what is it about Muhammad? Why is it that he's so important for Muslims that they're willing to stick their necks out and even kill people for this man? That will be week number 7. Week number 8 then is the wrap-up, and this is going to be the conclusion. And what we want to do, Daniel and I, and Daniel will be also engaging at this time with us, we're going to look at both Muhammad and Jesus, because really they are the figureheads for both faiths. For the Muslims, it has to be for Muhammad. For us as Christians, it has to be Jesus Christ. Why don't we do a comparison? So we're going to do that on week 8. And that's going to be fun, because when you look and see the difference between Muhammad and Jesus, well, there is no comparison. It's so good. And this is a great way to send the rest of you out there to use this material, all these 8 different lectures, for your ministry, for your discussions, and also as you engage with Muslims, because we want all of you to engage with Muslims. Now, this is a seminary. We are teaching at Veritas International University, which means this is for Christians only. If you are atheists or humanists or you are Muslims, this is not a course that you can take. This is only for those who believe that Jesus died on the cross and rose again for your sins and my sins. That means you can be Catholic or Protestant. We don't really care. What we do want to know is that you do believe in his death and resurrection. Now, Daniel, what about the costs? What is it going to cost for each one of these? If you could just unpack those for our listeners.
Okay. Again, the email would be ves.edu or info@ves.edu. For MA students, it'll be $330 per unit. So for under $1,000, you would be able to have a regular 3-credit-hour course. We also invite audit students.
But before you go on, before you go on, Daniel, let's just unpack this a little bit. So the master students are there for full time, and therefore there's more that's required of them. They have to not only they have to be at every lecture. You don't have to be live at every lecture, because every lecture that we do, we're going to record. And also the PowerPoints, every one of the lectures has PowerPoints that go with them. We will send the next day for those who are, say, in India or in the Middle East who are fast asleep, or in Europe, because the fact they can't stay up 2, 3 in the morning, we will send it to you. And this is for all the students. You'll all get it the very next day or the day after. That means you get the recorded lecture. You also get the PowerPoint so that you can do it on your own leisure at your own time within that week. Now, because of that, there are other things that are required. Daniel, you want to say some other things that are required for the master students? They have to do things, and they have 15 weeks to do it. But what is it that's required of them?
Okay, they will have reflections on the lectures and the reading. So that's a written reflection per week. So there are 8 of those. There are 8 written discussions that they will be involved in. And that will be on the different topics that we will be talking about. And they will have a final exam, which is an essay exam that will tie it all together. And then they'll have a final paper, which will really give them an opportunity to explore one of these areas in more detail. And it's a great way to kind of pool everything together. So those are the requirements for the MA. And again, you will all have 15 weeks. The first 8 weeks will be the lectures, and the discussions and the reflections will go best with that. But then you'll have the other 7 weeks to really work on your final 2, the essays for the final exam, and also for the paper itself.
Yeah, and then we have the second tranche, and this is the second growth, because we know that not everybody wants this for academic. For an academic degree. It's not important that you get a master's or a doctorate. There are many of you who just want to learn the material, but you also want to engage with the material with those who are doing it. And that's what we call the audit students. So the audit students are come to all the lectures. They also get all of the PowerPoints and the lectures the next day, like everybody else. But they also can participate in the Populi. Populi is this platform that VIU controls, where the students who are masters have to do their discussions on Populi. Right. The audit students can participate in those discussions, and they can see what the questions are, and they can see what the assignments are. They can do the assignments if they want to, but we will not look at them. We will not grade them like we have to with the master students. But you can participate in this, and this is where you engage with the students who are taking the course as well. Mm-hmm. Now, that's the audit students, and they have to pay $280 per course. For the whole course, it's $280. There's still a third tranche, and these are students, and these tend to be the ones who tend to be the ones that we get most of our students for, and this is what we call personal engagement. Personal engagement are those students who do not want to do any of the coursework. They're just there to learn the material. Many of them are overseas. Many of them are working with Muslims, engaging with them. They want to learn the material. They want to hear the lectures. They want to also be able to get the PowerPoint so they can use them in their own ministry. Those PE students, you do not participate on Populi, so you cannot participate in the discussions during the week like the audit students can. However, You are there for every class, and you can bring your questions, and we engage you to bring your questions with you at the end of each lecture so that we can answer your questions. And we promise that we will be there every Monday night. And we promise that we will also engage and bring back and forth our own expertise. Daniel has over, what do you have, 20, 30 years working with Muslims now?
Over almost 25.
Okay, and I have about almost 40 years of working with Muslims, so we have lots of experience to help you out with these different areas. Now, that's for the personal enrichment students. Obviously, we do want to make sure that you do register. You only have a few weeks, and so really you only have about 2 weeks to get this up and running. So you do need to register. Here is the registration. It's very simple. info@ves.edu. Anything else you want to say?
Price? What are the prices again for the individual categories?
Sorry, I didn't say that, did I? The price is $200. $200 for the personal enrichment. So it's $330 per unit, but there are 3 units, so that's $990, roughly $1,000 for the master students. It's $280 for the audit students, and it's $200 for the personal enrichment students. Anything less you want to say before we head on out and get ready for this course? I can't wait to get started myself.
Oh, this is one of the best courses in the whole series because it's foundational.
Yeah.
And there's some really good cutting edge material that we will uncover and give to you that you can use in your own witness to Muslims. And that's what we want to do. We want to give you the information that you need to better understand what Islam is about so you can better defend Christianity and refute the error that you find in Islam. So this is our purpose, and it's always great to work with you, Jay. I really enjoy our discussions that we have, the question and answer period that we have every Monday night. It's just very enriching and very engaging, and I appreciate being part of that.
Okay. Well, I hope to see as many of you as possible on October the 24th. That's just a few weeks from now. It'd be terrific to start looking at Muhammad, unpacking him, seeing who he was, how he's important to us, and how we can critique him as Christians. Until then, this is Daniel and Jay, over and out.